radiate the energy you want mirrored back. Your energy is the vibrational frequency that your culture is going to end up striving towards. That is really, really important to remember and understand, because there are going to be days where you are getting the absolute shit kicked out of you and you can't radiate positive energy, or at least you think you can't. Because if you go in there negative, I guarantee you, your negative energy is going to spoil the rest of the apples in that culture, and you need to be hyper aware of that. Chapter 6, Undressed, the unfiltered story of my failed American dream and how it led to success. So chapter 6 is a longer chapter. It goes through a bunch of highs and lows and kind of monumental moments that would change the trajectory of our business forever, and then also change the way I looked at human behavior forever. That's why the first learning lesson in the field guide for what you need to know is behavior is consistent. Now, I first heard that from a warden of a prison. My dad's vice president at his nonprofit was married to a warden of a prison, and I interned there. We went out to lunch, and her husband was a warden of a maximum security prison. So I was very curious. I go, what's it like being the warden of a maximum security prison? And he goes, well, Greg, have you ever had thousands of people plotting your death 24 hours a day? You go, well, no, I haven't. He goes, what you learn when everyone's trying to kill you every day is that behavior is consistent. And so if someone's behavioral patterns begin to change, something's up. Now, people can change slightly by putting parameters in place to keep their vices in check, and their goals can change and they can become more disciplined. There's no doubt about it. But everybody has a standard operating procedure, which is their behavior, and that behavior is consistent. That ended up being very, very helpful for me in my life, running teams with very diverse groups of people and having to get everybody in alignment, focused, and working for a common goal. And I will preach to this day, behavior is consistent. And you need to have a baseline understanding of who you're dealing with. What are their motives? What are their fears? What are their dreams? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And then you need to begin to map out who they are. What are their tendencies? Are they late? Are they early? Are they detail-oriented? Are they not? Are they positive? Are they negative? And if that changes, something's up. And I was able to avoid multiple coups of people trying to take over Tessie Mays because of that universal truth that behavior is consistent. It is unbelievably important to research, to remember, and to live by. Next learning lesson. What you need to know. Prepare for it all to work, even if it's a long shot. Also kind of comes back to be careful what you wish for. So for us, we would always go super big, assuming everybody was only going to give us 30% of what we asked for or 10% of what we asked for. In reality, once you do that enough and people start to see that you can execute, they're going to give you what you ask for. And so for one of the retailers, we mapped out an opening order of $1 million, which was the largest purchase order we had ever made, thinking they weren't going to give it to us and they were only going to give us $300,000. The buyer didn't blink. Yep, absolutely. $1 million. Here you go. We had never made $1 million of salad dressing straight in one go. We should have been more prepared, and we should have made a request that we knew could happen and that we could deliver on. Instead, we had taken the old rhythm of people always discounting what we said, and we owe $1 million. When they said yes, we had to figure it out, and it was a shit show. We made it work, but it completely changed how we approached what we were requesting from our buyers, and more so the universe. Be careful what you wish for, because you're going to get it. And up until that point, we hadn't really received it yet, but God works in mysterious ways. What you need to know: radiate the energy you want mirrored back. This is something similar to the last chapter where we discussed that there is no trivial comment. The same is true with energy. Your energy is the vibrational frequency that your culture is going to end up striving towards. So if you are positive and believe that you can accomplish the impossible and you're solving problems every single day and you're willing to go to the moon and back every single day, people are going to strive for that as well. If you're negative and everything's an issue and everything's a problem and you react negatively to people asking questions, or nothing is possible and everything is an issue, every single person in your culture is also going to radiate that energy that you are projecting out. That is really, really important to remember and understand, because there are going to be days where you are getting the absolute shit kicked out of you and you can't radiate positive energy, or at least you think you can't. You need to spend more time in the morning before the rest of your team and culture sees you to prepare to radiate the energy that you want mirrored back to you, your clients, your customers, and just generally the culture you want to be a part of. Because if you go in there negative, I guarantee you, just like that old adage, one bad apple in a barrel is going to spoil them all. Your negative energy is going to spoil the rest of the apples in that culture, and you need to be hyper aware of that. That was chapter 6 of the Undressed Field Guide. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back with chapter 7 next week.